Hello, and welcome to Duality Unfolding. Hi, I'm Kathy, and this week, the reading I have for you is about remembering who the fuck you are. Because sometimes we get tested, right? And I know a lot of people feel like the universe doesn't test us, and I kind of sort of agree. I don't feel like the universe tests us in like a negative way. I think the universe can test us in a way that's like, are you sure you don't want to go back to that thing that's not good for you? Maybe, not sure. But I feel like absolutely people will test us. So if you are feeling like the people around you, these could be people at your job, friends, people that you're in a relationship with, people that are driving next to you in traffic that for whatever reason have forgotten how to drive because the full moon is in Aquarius. I don't know. Chaos. But if you are feeling like you've been tested lately and you are not understanding like why people are testing you, like do they just want to fuck around and find out? Maybe. Or if you have realized that maybe you've been letting people get away with things that they never should have gotten away with, and you need a little reminder of the things that make you amazing, right? Because I think then when we forget who the fuck we are, like we've forgotten like what our gifts and our talents and our unique amazingness is. And I feel like a lot of times that happens because the people around us aren't able to celebrate us, don't want to celebrate us, are jealous haters, or maybe they're struggling with things, right? Like if we want to try to be compassionate. But either way, this is not about them. This is about you. So I have 3 different readings for you to choose from. So group number 1 is this Sodalite card, and the message is speak your truth. I pulled the Astro dice. So for group number 1, it's Cancer in the 2nd house, or it could just be Cancer in the number 2 if the number 2 is significant to you. In numerology, 2 can represent like partnership, union, balance. So if any of those things kind of speak to you, Cancer is the mother of the zodiac, nurturing, the caretaker. There can be some self-sacrificing martyrdom stuff in there on the negative end, you know, like the mom that feeds everybody, but like there's not food for her to eat. So I've also included this little tiger's eye moon. So tiger's eye is associated with money, which we love. So group number 1, these are your options for your reading. If any of these kind of speak to you, if you like the picture, if you like the numbers, whatever it is that kind of draws you to that reading, then that might be the one for you. Or if you like all of them and you want to watch the whole thing, that is totally fine too. Group number 2, the crystal card for you is Iolite, and the message is shift your money mindset. And the little tiny star crystal is yellow aventurine. So yellow is associated with like the solar plexus, confidence. Kind of like mantra statements like I believe, like I can, I will. That solar plexus is about taking action. And then we've got Capricorn and the 9th house, or the number 9. So Capricorn is all about this money. So Capricorn is the really like the responsible, hardworking, it's the sea goat, which is like, what is a sea goat? I don't know. But like a lot of analogies for Capricorn have to do with goats, right? And so goats are able to climb up mountains on those like little tiny ledges. Like they just have a lot of fortitude, perseverance, but very like goal driven. And also like accomplishment driven. And the 9th house is the house of like spirituality, faith, belief, optimism. It's associated with Sagittarius and the planet Jupiter. So if Capricorn, number 9, 9th house, kind of speaks to you. 9 in numerology is about completions, like wrapping things up, completing things. So we've got some completion accomplishment energy here, which is so fun when they match up. And then group number 3, the crystal card for you is black kyanite. And the message is set strong boundaries. We've got a little carnelian heart. Carnelian is associated with the sacral chakra, which is kind of associated with like the sex organs, the womb for women, reproductive organs for both people. And it's about creation and pleasure, which is, I mean, who doesn't like that? And then the astro dice are Aquarius and first house or number 1. So Aquarius is, in my opinion, kind of the mad scientist of the zodiac, as well as like the space cadet that's like on a solo mission, maybe kind of lost in space. So Aquarius is really associated with like humanitarianism and the collective. So I say mad scientist for Aquarius because like Aquarius will create the cure, like they'll create the cure for cancer, but they just don't want to distribute it to each individual person with cancer. Like they don't want people to have cancer, and they're happy to use their like big, huge brains and all their intelligence to come up with a cure because they don't want people to suffer, but they're not really like touchy-feely people. So Aquarius will come up with the cure for cancer, and then they will give it to Cancer the Nurturer to like give to every single person that has cancer and give them hugs and treats and all these things. So first house is the house of the self. It's the way that we present ourselves in the world, like the way that we show up in the world and the way that people see us. In numerology, 1 is the number of beginnings, so fresh start. So if any of that energy speaks to you, I did think it was interesting that each group, the color got darker, right? So this blue is associated with the throat chakra. This is kind of a dark blue, purple, almost black. So like the dark purple can be associated with that throat chakra, but also with like the third eye and the crown chakra. And then this black kyanite is associated with the the root chakra. So kind of almost like speaking to thinking to like grounding. So I just thought that was neat. Anyway, so these are the piles, so feel free to pick whichever one calls to you. Take as much time as you need, and I will see you in the readings. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose the Soda Light card and the little tiny Moon Tiger Eye and the Cancer and number 2 Astro Dice, then this is your reading. So I have pulled cards for you about how to remember who the fuck you are, because if you're watching this reading, then maybe you've been through some stuff lately, or maybe you've been going through some stuff for a long time, and you might feel like, I don't know, maybe you don't feel amazing, and I want you to leave this reading feeling much better about yourself, because you are amazing. I don't know you, but I know that you're amazing, because everybody has some amazingness about them. So I'm going to get into the reading. I don't want to gas you up too much in the beginning, but I pulled, for each deck, I pulled like kind of like a vibe check card is like what I'm calling it, like what I think of it as in my brain. And it's from either the major arcana or like the court cards. So I pulled those out of one of my tarot decks. And that card is kind of just to make sure that you're in the right reading, right? That you're getting the right message. So if for some reason it doesn't resonate for you, then you've got 2 other readings to choose from. But the card that I pulled for you guys, group number 1, is the Strength card. So we've got this person that is wrestling with this beast, right? Like they're trying to pry its mouth open. And the Strength card is about, it can be about wrestling with like difficult situations, difficult people, difficult circumstances, as well as kind of wrestling with the parts of ourselves that are maybe that kind of have a tendency to be a little rough around the edges, or maybe that like overreact, or that are kind of snappy, or the parts of ourselves that like we maybe don't like as much, and that we're trying to really control to make those parts of us the way that we want them to be. Just like this person's like fighting with this lion, which like it's kind of funny imagery, because like a human being would never win fighting against a lion. But so the strength card is about being like a really strong person, or needing to kind of muster up the strength for something, or being put through situations that cause you to grow stronger. So if that feels like you, or if any of that resonates, then this is the reading for you. So I'm going to go through each of these cards. So I pulled I pulled a spread, and I pulled a tarot and oracle card for each card in the spread, and I'll go through that. So the card that is the focus or the issue for you, like the reason, like whatever happened that made you forget who the fuck you are, like this is kind of what the focus of the reading is going to be, as well as like helping you to get back to remembering who you are. So the tarot card that came up is the 10 of Swords. So this is the Modern Witch Tarot, and it's got two 10 of Swords cards in it. And so this is kind of like a bonus card. But I feel like this is like the quintessential like 10 of Swords. Like in the traditional 10 of Swords, it's a person laying face down, 10 swords in their back, like they're done and dusted. And the card is meant to symbolize that like the worst of the worst has happened, like it's over, everything is like you're gonna start a new cycle. But I feel like with this card, we've got this woman, and she's on her phone, and let me look at this, everything's fine. Girlfriend, everything is not fine. And so the issue, like the problem that's been coming up, is that things have been really bad. Like 10 of Swords is the worst that it can get, right? And so this card is saying that like things are really not great, but the message, the thing that you kind of have been, it's gonna be harsh, lying to yourself about, the thing that you've been kind of lying to other people about, is that it's fine. It's fine. I know it's hard. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I know it looks bad from the outside, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. And so the message is, because the oracle card that came up is new beginnings. So the message is, until you can acknowledge that this situation that you're in is not okay, then you can't move out of it and into your new beginning. And so what does that look like? So for some people, like this could be, it's really like allowing yourself to get to a breaking point. And so I think sometimes like when we talk about like getting to a breaking point, like that can be kind of scary, right? Because it's like when something breaks, like it's broken, it's done, you can't fix it. But in this situation, like, is it reparable? And I'm asking you that for you, right? Because like for this woman, she has 10 swords in her, but she's still scrolling on her phone. Like, can she get up and hang out with her friends? Maybe not. Like, she might have a sword in like a vital organ. She might bleed out before she gets to the brunch, you know? But I'm asking you, like, is this situation reparable? Like, can it be repaired? Is it salvageable? Is the relationship, like the interactions, like, what are you holding on to? Because if it's not reparable, if you cannot repair it, if it's not salvageable, then like, what are you holding on to? Right? And so I think for some people, they don't have a choice, right? They have to hold on to this thing because it's like a lifeline. There might be like some survival stuff in there. But the energy for me around this is that, like, the devil, you know, right? That you're working a job and you have like a super shitty boss, and like there's a glass ceiling, and you know you're not going to get anywhere because you're not in good with the right people, or you didn't get a degree from the right place, or they want you to get a master's, or like whatever other stuff. And it's like, well, this is predictable. I know how it works, and it's comfortable and it's safe and it's predictable because I know that every day I'm here, I will be miserable, but I will get paid. And for some people, like, that's the most important thing, right? But if you're staying because you're too scared to acknowledge that everything is not fine, because this message is speak your truth. And so, like, sometimes we have to speak the truth to ourselves, right? We have to speak our truth to ourselves. Like, sometimes we have to acknowledge that, like, this is not fine. And I really hate it here. Like, I want something else. And even, you know, like, if you believe in God, source, universe, spirit, speaking your truth to your higher power, like, this is not fine. This is not fine. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired of like numbing myself with like scrolling on my phone. Like, I want to get paid for what I'm worth. I want to have like healthy relationships. Like, I'm so done with like this bullshit. Like I said, once you're able to do that and move on, there's a new beginning for you. And that's in the 10 of Swords also. Like, we can see like there's some light here, and it's like really early morning because it's like that kind of like orangey red, you know. But, you know, if you can acknowledge, if you can speak the truth to yourself about the situation and also about what you want, right? Not what you think you deserve, but like what you really want, then it'll allow this like portal to open up so that you can walk through it to something better. Because I mean, this looks pretty amazing. There's like a waterfall and the sun and the moon. You get this magical, there's little birds. Like, look at this. Like, this is awesome. There could be some elves living here. We don't know, but it looks amazing. So the next card is kind of like either the internal thing that you're dealing with or something that you're not aware of. Like, something that's just kind of like it's coming. It's like maybe like an epiphany or like a message or something that's coming that hasn't gotten to you yet, or it's something that you're aware of that's like internal. So it's like unseen internal kind of thing. And so the card that came up is the Six of Cups. And this is just such a lovely card, right? The Six of Cups is about, it has to do with our childhood, but also like Six of Cups can be like a really positive, like karmic relationship, right? And in here, it's like, to me, this is very much about like inner child healing, right? That like this is her little self, and she's filling up this cup, you know, she's giving this little self, she's giving her the flowers that she never got, right? Like, she's essentially like reparenting herself. She's giving this little girl part of her, this little person part of her, little boy part of her, you know, love and care and acknowledgement that wasn't received at the time that this person was a young person, a child. And so I feel like this is like the unseen thing, the thing that you're not aware of, like that there's some inner child healing that needs to happen. And I feel like inner child work is not a lot of people's favorite thing to do because it can be really, really difficult, right? If you have childhood trauma, if you have family stuff you haven't dealt with, even if you think that you didn't have a difficult childhood, I feel like with inner child healing, sometimes stuff can come up that you're like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, wow, I did not remember that happened when I was 11 and how much that stuck with me, and it's really hard and I don't like doing this. So I feel like a very gentle way to ease into inner child healing is play. And as adults, like, we don't really play, like, we're not really encouraged to play. Or I feel like a lot of us play to like numb out, me included, like those little puzzle games on your phone. If I have a hard day at work, I'm just like, let me sort the shit out of these blocks because I feel like I didn't get anything done today. Like, nothing got accomplished. But like, play can be creating art. Play can be going for a walk in the woods. Like, I feel like as a kid, like I was like, little Kathy was like, she was an explorer, right? Like, she was like this little tiny Indiana Jones minus the danger, because Big Kathy and Little Kathy do not like danger. We are not a fan of danger, but we do love exploration and discovering. So like I used to go for walks and I would like look at things, and like I feel like anytime I would see a bug, it was like I had to stop and just look at it. Not from too close though, especially if they have wings, because you don't know where they're gonna go. I grew up in Texas, kind of south central Texas, so lots of bugs. But play can be going for walks, play can be creating art, play can be like dancing, play can be singing. So finding little things that little fun things that you remember enjoying as a kid, right? And I feel like we can see this in like current culture. I saw a video of, and these might be old, I don't know, but to me like they seem like a new thing, but Lisa Frank Crocs. Like I saw a video of somebody like talking about these Lisa Frank Crocs. And so like I'm kind of in between Gen X and millennial, but like as a kid, Lisa Frank was like a huge thing. It's like cute animals, bright colors, like fun stuff. So like if the little person that you were loved something like, I don't know, like collectible little Hot Wheels or Legos or something like that, like something that made you really happy as a kid, like that, like going to get yourself that, like getting yourself like a little I was gonna say a little Millennium Falcon Lego thing. I don't even know if is it Millennial Falcon? I don't know. I don't even do Star Wars, but that's what came in my brain. Getting one of those, except for like they look really complicated, so I wouldn't enjoy that, but maybe you would. Maybe your little you would enjoy that. But even like getting something like that, right? Or like, I don't know, like little models and like painting them. Like there's all these like really simple, gentle things that we can do for inner child work, that can help you to connect to this little person inside of you, because whatever this situation is, like it's related, and I feel like everything it's related to something that you have dealt with like for a long time, right? And so this is, for some people, this can be like not good enough, right? Like believing that you're not good enough is what got you into this situation. Being a people pleaser, being the good girl or the good boy, being a rule follower. Like there's all these things that kind of are pervasive in maybe our upbringing. I call it programming, that we were raised that like, gosh, like one of the things that's coming into my brain is like that when I was a kid, I don't know if this happens anymore because I'm not a kid. Well, not, and also like I'm not a parent. So like I'm not associated with like kids in school and things, but like when I was a kid in school, like everybody had to be friends, right? And you had to be nice to everybody. Except there was always a kid that was like a fucking asshole. Why doesn't he have to be nice to everybody? So like he gets to be a jerk and then we all have to still be nice to him. That doesn't make any sense. And so to me, that kind of programming like is like it feeds into not speaking up for what you need, because like most of us need to be respected. And so if you treat me like shit and I have to be nice to you because of some bullshit rule that I learned when I was 7, then every time I interact with you that you're shitty to me, that's another knife in my back from you and from me, because I haven't spoken up for myself. I haven't said, hey, like you don't need to talk to me like that. Or, hey, I know we work together, but every time you come and talk to me, you're really rude. And you like low-key insult me, so I need you to be respectful, because like, yes, we have to work together, but like, I don't have to interact with you, right? Like I can go take measures. I could file an HR complaint. Like I can talk to your boss. Like it's not necessary for you to be this way. Like if you can't treat me like a decent human, then like maybe just send me an email. Like maybe don't come to my desk and talk to me. So, and that's kind of extreme to say to someone, but I feel like also like I'm a fan of humor, kind of, in like confrontational situations, right? So if somebody comes up and they like talk to you, they come at you sideways and they say something, like a lot of times my initial reaction is, huh? Like in my brain, like that, like, huh? But like what I say is, excuse me? And like, I feel like there's nothing that checks people faster than like those two words, because a lot of times, like when we say excuse me, like in casual conversation, it's like, oh, pardon me, I'm moving, like you're in the way, like can you move out of the way? It's kind of like it's like a really soft kind of like warning tone in a way. It's almost like if you use your alarm on your phone, how it like the sound kind of gets louder over time, where it's like it starts like the little alarm, mine's like these little chimes, and it starts kind of quiet and then it gets louder. I feel like that's kind of what excuse me is, where it's like, oh, I hear words and like, oh, that's a, oh. And a lot of times, like, really, I feel like every time that I've like had an interaction that like made me pause and say excuse me to this person, they don't say the same thing that they just said. Like they very quickly check themselves. It could also be the face, right? The excuse me. So maybe if you're struggling to speak your truth, maybe just let your eyebrows do it, or get some glasses. You can just so then you don't have to talk. If you're not comfortable yet saying excuse me, or like check your tone, fool. I feel like sometimes that one's appropriate. But all this stuff that's been happening, all this like bullshit that's been happening that's caused you to forget who you are, is very much connected to like the little you, And so in spending time with this little you, it's going to help you. I feel like there's going to be a lot of healing that happens, because that's always what happens with inner child work, is a lot of healing, which we love. But also, little you doesn't stand for this bullshit, And so it's almost like in developing that relationship with little you, they're going to cheer you on. Because I feel like what happens to us a lot of times as adults is that we're so programmed, socialized, culturized to act a certain way within the context of a space, right? So if you're in a club, you could drop it like it's hot and it's not a big deal. It could be when the lights are on. It could be 2 PM. The club, like the bar might just be open. The music might not be loud. But in that situation, like, I don't even know if people say that. I don't drop it like it's hot because I'm old and my knees hurt. But you know what I'm saying? If you were twerking at your job, unless you have a job that involves twerking, like that's out of context, right? So we're culturized that like that behavior is not appropriate. I think also what happens in the workplace is that we are culturized to take abuse and not really appropriate immature behavior, if that's the culture of where we work. So little you is not culturized, socialized to that. Little you is about taking care of big you, and kind of being that cheerleader, right? So when we're socialized to certain things, like when we're programmed that certain behaviors are okay, things will happen and like we won't speak up for ourselves, but they are like out of line, disrespectful. And so doing that inner child work is going to shift your, I'm trying to think of the word. It's going to shift your North Star away from, it's going to recalibrate your compass, right? Because right now your compass is pointed at like, what does the job want me to do? What does the person in this relationship want me to do? What does this external source that's treating me like shit want me to do? And doing that inner child work is going to allow your inner child to recalibrate your compass back to you, right? It's going to go back to you and like, what do I need? What is important to me? Like what lines up with my values and what doesn't? And so in like connecting with that inner child, in recalibrating like that internal compass to put the focus back on what you need and what is important to you, you're going to end up with prosperity. Which like, in the context of like relationships, what that can look like is once you walk away from those people that don't treat you well, you're going to have all these amazing people that have the space to come in, right? All your seats are full right now. Your van is full of like shit people. And so the faster you like get your compass recalibrated for where you want to go, not where they want you to go, and the faster they're going to kind of offload, and you might have to offload some of them, especially if this is about work, which I feel like for quite a few of you, it's about work. And so once you recalibrate that compass to go where you want to go, you know, and that might mean looking for a new job and leaving an old job when you just kick them out of the van. The faster you empty out those seats in the van, the faster, you know, like the money, the potential for career advancement, the really healthy friendships, like really fun relationships, the faster those things can come in. So the next card is the thing that you are very aware of, you know, something kind of that you see in the situation or that like is kind of around you externally. And so that card is the Queen of Swords. And so I feel like for some of you, like, this is kind of weird because it's two totally opposite things. For some of you, this is you. And for some of you, this is a person that you're dealing with. Like, I feel like, I mean, it's kind of both, right? Because the Queen of Swords, like, Queen of Swords is a badass. And she can be on one end of the spectrum. Like, she can be really cold, heartless, ruthless, like words cut like a knife. On the other end of things, like she's a boss, right? Like she's the business owner that has learned all the parts of how to run a business by herself and now is mentoring other new business owners on, like, you have to learn a little bit of IT, how to run your own website, or know enough about IT to know when the person that you're hiring is good or not. You need to know a little bit about taxes so that you can figure out, like, you know, where to find the information that changes year to year about taxes so you can find a good accountant. Like, you need to know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, and then a lot about whatever you, like, the core of your business. So it's this spectrum, right? Where I feel like the people that are causing you like all this pain, the person is that really negative queen that's like stuck a sword in you. And you are the Queen of Swords that has forgotten that she has her own sword that she can fight with, right? That like, that you can, you know, you can take the time, do the inner child healing, slowly start to take these swords out. And when the people come back to put another sword in you, you can use that to fight. Like, I think that's what you've forgotten about yourself, that like, that you're a boss, that you are very intelligent, highly skilled at whatever it is that you're doing. You have a really large capacity to understand things, right? And so I think we can understand something and not be able to do it, but I feel like there's a huge amount of value in understanding things, right? When we can kind of zoom out and I don't know why I feel like electricity is a great example. Like, if we can understand the concept of how electricity works, you know, then we can understand like why there needs to be like a grounding wire, or why it's not good to have water water like around live electric wires, or if there's like a live electric cable that's like out and about, you know, why, like, we understand why it's not safe to like go near it or touch it, or we have to leave it, you know, to call it in to the electric company or whatever. Like, you have this capacity to understand lots of things. And I think that the Queen of Swords person that has been doing their best to kind of to stab away at you, like to kind of break you down with these swords, they see a part of you that you don't see, and they know that you don't see it. And so that's why they're doing everything they can to essentially like squash you down. That like anytime you get up, they just put that sword back in you. And now you've kind of given up, right? Because I mean, that's normal human behavior. If every time I do X, Y happens and Y hurts, I'm going to stop doing X. Like, that's like literally like, what is it? Pavlov's dog. Like, that's conditioning. It's negative conditioning. I do X, Y happens and it hurts. I stop doing X after I get hurt enough. And so like, I'm not judging you. I'm not faulting you. What I am saying is that literally you have everything you need inside of you. You just have to get up and fight. So one way for you to move forward is forgiveness. So forgiveness for the person that put all these knives in you, and also forgiveness for yourself because you forgot that you knew how to sword fight. And when I say forgiving the other person, that you don't have to forgive them like in person. Like you don't have to talk to them and be like, hey, I just want you to know I forgive you for all the shit that you did that you don't like aren't ready to acknowledge, or that you don't think you did, whatever. Like the forgiveness is for you, you know? So again, like with this Speak Your Truth card, you know, where I talked about earlier, like sometimes we have to speak the truth to ourselves. Like this forgiveness practice that you do, like you could be speaking out loud to forgive the Queen of Swords person that hurt you, just by yourself, to yourself, not to them. You could journal it. You could write a letter and like burn it, which is one of my favorite things. I love writing things and like burning them in my little fire pit in the backyard because fire's fun. But also like there's this kind of metaphysical alchemy to it, right? That we're putting all of our anger, pain, frustration, whatever into this vessel, this paper. And when we burn it, it kind of releases all that stuff, you know, it alchemizes it. It's kind of a closure ceremony for us. And so that's the most important part, is that, you know, when we look at this card, there's only one person here, right? And like they're kind of doing this forgiveness thing by themselves, like out in nature. They could be talking, they could be thinking, but like when we look at the card, like there's this lightness around them. There's this light everywhere. And, you know, we've got, with that new beginnings, this light, you know, we've got this light here. And then in that inner child healing, there's the prosperity. So it's like there's all this lightness that's ready to come out once you're able to kind of take these steps, right? When you can acknowledge that everything's not okay, you know, take some time to do something, just even a little something fun, even if it's like buying pens or something, or buying like fun stickers to connect to your inner child, you know, and then that forgiveness, like forgiving yourself, and then like forgiving, going through the process of forgiving the other person. And you can tell them if you want to, but forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. So the kind of resolution to this situation is the Seven of Pentacles. And so this card is really about patience, and doing the work, right? Where it's like she's done the work to plant all these flowers and she's watered them and they're, you know, in a nice environment and they're potted. And now like she just has to wait for them to bloom, right? For those pentacles to be ready to be picked off. And so to me, what this feels like is, you know, you're not going to jump up and like all 10 of these swords pop out of you, but you know, maybe you can identify like the easiest sword to reach, you know, and kind of take that one out, and then take the time, you know, to be patient with yourself as you go through the inner child healing, as you go through the forgiveness, but also remembering, you know, that like you're this strong person too, and that like whatever sword you pull out, you can hold on to it, you know, to defend yourself, to make sure that that person doesn't put another sword back into you. So, and her face is kind of funny. Like there's this impatience, but like just understanding that like things aren't going to change overnight. Because also like you didn't get here overnight, right? Like this 10 swords, it wasn't like somebody walked up with 10 swords and stabbed you all at once and you fell down. Like this has been like a slow burn, right? This has been like some kind of weird if this is like a relationship, like this has been like some really like not great, like just a lot of manipulation, kind of gross energy, like maybe some gaslighting. So this happened over time, right? And so reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to your inner child, like learning how to forgive that's going to take time. So I feel like this is just a reminder to be patient with yourself. That you will get all those swords out of you, and you will start to regain the strength to fight. You'll find your fight again. The more you connect with your inner child, like the more you'll find your fight. But in the times that you get frustrated with yourself, because I feel like you get frustrated with yourself before you get frustrated with the person hurting you, this is just a reminder to be patient. Like sometimes we just have to sit with those feelings of like, why can't I do this? Why aren't I like this? Why? And I think that like connecting with that inner child, and also like forgiving yourself. Like, I forgive myself for being impatient about how the damage done to me isn't healing overnight. Like, I forgive myself for being impatient that once again, a week went by and I didn't apply for that new job. Like, I forgive myself for being impatient around whatever, or being frustrated, or whatever those things are, especially when they're towards yourself. And so the card that came up for that Seven of Pentacles is career. And so this might also be a message that like you might be in a job. Like this might be, like I said, it feels like a work thing for a lot of you. You might be in a job or a career where you feel like things are moving so slow. Like they're just going so slow, and you've invested so much time, you've invested so much effort where you are, and so that might, like, there might need to be some extra patience around that, that, when we invest a lot of time into something, it's harder to walk away from it, because our expectation is that I invested like X amount of years and I should get some return back. And you should. I feel like in the balance of the universe, like you should, except in your situation, you're dealing with someone that is intentionally making sure that the scales aren't balanced. And you can't control that. Like you can't change that. So just really kind of being patient with yourself, when maybe you've decided to go back to school and like you just can't complete your degree fast enough, or like you want to update your resume and you want to put in for like other jobs, but you're just like, I don't know, exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, and you're getting impatient with yourself because this is your focus. Like, go back to the forgiveness, go back to, the inner child, and like doing a little bit of play, because you're like, you need time and space to heal. Like this is a lot, right? And it's over. I feel like because you're watching this, right? Because you're able to see all these things that are happening and the other side of the things that are really positive, because again, we have light, we have this orb, just like we had with the forgiveness card. It's like she has worked on the forgiveness and it's lightened her, and that light is going to extend to your career, right? Once you go through this process of starting to forgive other people, and especially forgiving yourself, that's going to open up all this space for like the new beginnings and the prosperity and like all these positive things to come to you. The understanding for all of this, like the understanding why all of this happened, and really like the reminder about like who the fuck you are, aside from like this Queen of Swords, that you are a badass, is this Eight of Pentacles. And so Eight of Pentacles is about like making things, creating things, like we can see her literally designing this, like she's this little, graphic artist in a big city. Like you are able to create things that other people are not able to create, and they don't understand how you do it. But also it sparks a lot of jealousy, and because people don't understand how you do this, and it triggers the part of them that feels like they can't do it, you don't get a lot of positive feedback. Like you don't get a lot of compliments from people. You don't get a lot of like acknowledgement. And sometimes that makes it really hard. So depending on like what industry you're in, if you're not getting a lot of feedback, then like maybe you don't know if you're doing a good job or not, right? Or if you work for someone, right? Like if you have a boss that's like really demanding and you're always trying to meet their demands and they never give you positive feedback, then you never know if you're doing well or not. Because like you haven't been fired, but also like you're trying not to get fired, which is what you're doing all the things, right? And so like the reason that you do so much is a fear of failure. And I say a fear of failure because the failure card came out, but it came out upside down. And so the message for this card is, I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. And I feel like you haven't learned to accept that yet. That when you do something wrong, it's not the end of the world. Because you're so intentional, because you're so hardworking, because you're so diligent, like you don't realize that when you make a mistake, a lot of times what you deem as a mistake, other people don't see it as a mistake, right? Other people don't see it as a failure. You see it as a failure. But like you hold yourself to such a high standard that nobody else holds you to that standard, you know? But also like you hold yourself to such a high standard that like it's hard for you to compliment yourself. That like nobody's telling you that like you're doing a good job. Like no one's telling you that your work is amazing. And so this fear of failure is kind of always like looming in the background. That like, okay, like I did this thing and nobody said anything bad because it just hasn't happened. Like the bad news hasn't come yet, but it's going to come. Okay, it didn't come this time, but it could come next time. You know, like that this is how maybe you've been conditioned to live. But that's not how, like, that's not what you're meant for, right? Like when we look at all these other, like new beginnings, right? Like every time we fail, it's an opportunity for a new beginning because whatever we did didn't work. So we get to try something new. That's a new beginning. Every time we make a mistake, we get the opportunity to do something different. That is a new beginning. That is a positive thing. That's called learning and growing. Also, like prosperity, right? Like that fear of failure is holding you back from receiving this prosperity. Like it, I feel like I don't know how to make words out of it. Like this is blocking this. Like this fear of failure is eclipsing this. So the sooner you can learn to practice forgiving yourself, not just for the situation, but just for like little things, you know, like if you say the wrong thing, it's okay, right? It's okay. Like everybody says things that come out wrong sometimes, or everybody says things that get misunderstood. Like there's nothing that you're saying that is as bad as like it, nothing you're saying warrants the pressure that you hold against yourself for what you said. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Like nothing that you've said is as bad as you think it is. And so I kind of feel like that Queen of Swords person that's done this to you is there's a book called The Four Agreements. You've probably heard of it. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. And there's a part in the, I want to say it's in the intro, but I could be wrong, where he talks about, and like this one was really hard for me because I was in an abusive marriage for a while. And I didn't leave because I was like super strong. I left after my ex-husband, we were in the military, after he had gotten stationed overseas without me for a year, and I realized my life was like really nice without him in it. And so I say all that to say that like with the Four Agreements book, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about how we will never allow anyone to treat us worse than we treat ourselves. And So like for years, like I just kind of took this abuse because it was never as bad as how abusive my inner voice was to me. Like the things that he said to me were never as bad as the things that I said to myself. And so I say all that because this Queen of Swords, like this, the thing that this Queen of Swords has done to you is not as bad as that inner critic and what that inner critic has said to you about being a failure or failing or any kind of criticism. And so I'm going to go back to it. I feel like that's why this inner child healing and this forgiveness is so, so, so important. Because like you need tenderness, you need positivity, like you need this tender, kind part of you, you know, because that's really what like this inner child relationship is, you know, that as an adult, like there are things that maybe you needed as a child that you didn't get, and now I can provide those to you. And in the same token, like this inner child is going to like love you in a way that like the rest of the world doesn't, because this is a little part of you, right? Like this is an aspect of you that loves you even when the adult you doesn't. And you need that while you're learning to forgive yourself, because like that forgiveness is everything, you know, like that forgiveness is going to overcome any fear, any negative like self-talk that has come up. And once you're able to release that like negative self-talk, then you can see yourself for who you really are, right? That you're like this hardworking, innovative, like just you are that positive Queen of Swords. So group number 1, that has been your reading. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that you are able to start seeing this in yourself. I hope that you're able to start seeing like how hard you work, how good you are at what you do, and how much of your own love and forgiveness you deserve every day, in all the moments, in all the ways. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this reading, I would love it if you would like and subscribe so that you can see when I put new videos out. And yeah, take some extra time for you. Give yourself a little extra love or a lot extra love. And I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 2. So if you chose the Iolite crystal card, the little, oh, can I pick this up? My nails are so long. This little star, yellow aventurine, and the Capricorn, where is it? Nope, that's not it. The Capricorn, and what is happening? Sorry. The 9th house Capricorn Astro dice. I'm a mess. Nobody's watching me. What is happening? Who knows? Okay. So this is your reading. So I have pulled cards for you around remembering who the fuck you are, and kind of looking at how you forgot who the fuck you are. Like what happened. So I pulled a card that's kind of a vibe check card. So this, I'll talk you through this card, and if this does not feel like your energy, this does not feel like the situation you're in, you've got 2 other readings to choose from. Excuse me. So the card that I pulled for you is the Queen of Wands. So Queen of Wands, she has this badass tattoo on her hand. Queen of Wands is about action. She's about taking very precise action. She's I was gonna say divisive. She's not divisive. She's decisive. she's very comfortable being in a leadership position, but also she doesn't have to overpower people, right? Like she's not going to fight to be the leader, but a lot of times Queen of Wands comes through when you're in a situation that needs leadership, but like it's not happening. Like the people that are leaders are not stepping up. So Queen of Wands she's the person that steps up because like somebody has to do it. And I know that I'm capable of doing it. So I'm going to do it instead of waiting for other people to do the things they're supposed to do that we know that they're not going to do. And I think even when we look at, she's got the side eye, like, oh God, again. Okay, guys, I'm coming. I'll fix it. So that is the energy. Queen of Wands also, like, she can make something out of nothing. Like, she's a little, to me, she's like a little bit of a magical sorceress, which we really like. Very much creator energy, a little bit magician, a little bit empress, but like, I feel like Queen of, this doesn't have to be a woman, right? This can apply to anybody. But I feel like Queen of Wands is that solution person, right? Like the person that comes up with the solution to things where it just like, it really, really works, where it's something that it's like, oh, they know what the fuck they're doing. Like, oh, they know what they're talking about. And that's how they came up with this. And also I think a lot of people appreciate a Queen of Wands because when they come up with the solution, people are like, oh, good. Okay, somebody fixed it. So if that resonates for you, if that feels like you, if that feels like who you want to be, then this is your reading. Or if this feels like a situation that you're in, that it's like, yeah, somebody needs to step up and be the Queen of Wands. So the first card that I pulled for you is going to be like the focus of the reading. It could be the issue, but for you guys, it's the focus. So the tarot card that came out is the Star. And so the Star is one of the most positive cards in the major arcana. Like this person is, obviously the Star is a star, but like not in the way of like Hollywood or anything. The Star is this really kind of like magical being in the traditional tarot. They have 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot in the water. So kind of, to me, it's very much like magical in the way of like dragonfly energy. So if you know anything about dragonflies, they are born in the water, but they live in the air. And like, because they're like, once their little wings are strong enough, then they fly. And you always see dragonflies flying around, but then they land on the water. And so it's almost like being able to navigate between two worlds, because they come from one world, but they exist in another, and they can kind of go back to where they came from. So I feel like, to me, like this really feels like you're probably someone that has like a very deep spiritual practice. But when you're out in the world with other people that are not spiritual, they wouldn't know that about you. So it's like that way of kind of being able to navigate, or like, yeah, to navigate two different worlds, to occupy two different spaces, to be biblical, being in the world but not of it. So that is the part of you that you have forgotten, that is magic. That is something that like not a lot of people can do, right? That a lot of people will attach their identity to something, and that is the only thing that they allow themselves to be, but for whatever their reasons are. But as human beings, like, we're never just one thing, right? We're always more than one thing. It's like biologically, like I am a female. But I could also be a construction worker, or I could be, like, I'm trying to think of something that, like, another, like, role that's, like, really masculine, right? I could be, like, kind of like a mentor to a young man, or, like, just these things that kind of seem like they're opposites. Like, we can be more than one thing. Like, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that, like, I have to be a mother, right? It doesn't mean that I have to wear dresses all the time, or that I can't wear pants. But, like, you get what I'm saying, where this is a very kind of, like, holistic way that you exist, that you know that there's all these different parts of you, And that like it doesn't bother you if they contradict each other, because like you accept your own wholeness. And I feel like that's really magical, and that's really beautiful, and that's really healthy, and I feel like we all need more of that. And the oracle card that came up, I pulled a tarot and oracle card for each portion of the reading. The card that came up is empowerment. And I feel like this card almost looks like Gloria Steinem, if you know who she is. So it's kind of funny to me. She's like a women's rights activist and lawyer. But so this card that came up is empowerment, and that like your ability to navigate two different spaces, to love yourself and like fully accept yourself, like that's extremely empowering. And I kind of feel like you might, let's see how the reading goes, but I kind of feel like you might be getting called to share that with the world. So the internal influence, or like the unseen influence card that came up, is the Ace of Cups. So this Ace of Chalices, and we have this little mermaid, and she's got this cup, and she's got this little friend. It's like, what we got in there? Is it juice? You're gonna share it. And so the Ace of Cups is, aces are new beginnings, and cups is about love. And so you're coming into a time that you're able to learn how to love in a different way. And when I say learn, I mean do. Like you're learning through doing, right? So this might show up in like intimate relationships. Like you might be like kind of exploring like your own sexuality and like what that means for you. Like this could be in the types of relationships that you have, like the quality of relationships, like that maybe you have friendships that like might be rooted in like trauma bonds, and you're like, I don't think I really want that. And I think I'm going to try superficial relationships. Like, I think I'm going to try relationships where we only do fun, superficial things, and I'm going to see what that's like, or you might have really superficial, fun relationships, and you're like, no, I'd really like someone that I can connect to, like that on a deeper level around this thing, right? Like, maybe you're like going away to college and you're like, no, I really want to have like deep, supportive friendships with other people that are freshmen in college, that this is their first time not living at home, and like kind of navigate that with someone else. So that's what's coming up as like this internal thing. And you may or may not be aware that that's coming up for you. And then the oracle card that came up is pride. And the message is, I love myself and I see myself in everyone. Which I feel like is an interesting message for pride, because I kind of feel like I'm going to go back to you might be exploring your sexuality, because pride, and gay pride, LGBTQ plus pride. But I feel like this card is, the message is really, I feel like, I love myself and I see myself in everyone. Like, I feel like that's really love, right? Like love in this like big sense of loving other human beings, right? That like, if I love myself and I extend that love to the world, and I see you as me, and I don't want to harm me, then I don't want to harm you. And I feel like that's love. So this is interesting, because again, Ace of Cups is love. So the external influence, like the thing that's happening in the world around you, maybe that you are very aware of, is the 5 of coins. Nope. Is that 5? Nope, that's 6. Roman numerals are hard, guys. The 6 of coins. And this is what it looks like, but it came up reversed. And so 6 of coins is a card of reciprocity. Like, in the traditional tarot, there's someone that is richer that's giving coins to people that don't have as much. And so with this 6 of coins, we've got these, it looks like all these coins are falling in front of this person, right? They're kind of just falling out of the sky. And it's like, what is going on? And so I feel like, because it's a card of reciprocity and it came out reversed, like I feel like there's a lot of things around you, and this feels like relationships, I think, because this star card, I feel like it just feels like like sweet, tender, intimate love. Like it just feels like love to me. And then the Ace of Cups. But this Six of Pentacles in reverse, like this feels like an imbalance in relationships. That like, because I feel like reciprocity is really simplified in the traditional Six of Pentacles, because it's like I have more, and so I give you a little less or I give you a little bit of what I have because I have excess, and like that keeps. I'm trying to create a balance, right? I'm trying to create a balance by like giving you something because I have more of it, and then hopefully you'll give to someone else or you'll give back to me or whatever. And reciprocity is that balance of like, I paid for lunch this time and you pay for lunch next time, and like it can be really simplified that way, and it's kind of not, right? Because like if I pay for lunch and we go someplace that's like not expensive, but then next time you pay for lunch and it's like really expensive, like that's not fair. Like we took turns, like it was kind of like volleying a ball back and forth. And so that's not really like all of reciprocity, right? Like that's not fairness, that's not balance. And so I feel like those things, like that lack of like balance and fairness and like matching investment as far as like energy, intention, time, like that's not there in a lot of your relationships. And the oracle card that came up was loneliness, and the message is, I know that I am never alone. But I feel like that lonely message, really speaks to this, Six of Coins upside down, and then also with the Star card, like it's just her. She's holding this vessel, but she's by herself. And I think that sometimes it can be really hard to navigate two very different spaces. One, because not a lot of people do it. And so it's like that leaves you kind of lacking connection, right? If nobody knows, if nobody understands what my experience is like, I can't really share it. Like nobody's really going to get it, and that's going to leave me feeling really lonely and disconnected. And so that's that external thing that you might be aware of, right? You might be feeling that like I'm really ready for like some loving relationships to come in, because I'm tired of things being out of balance. I'm tired of feeling like alone, and I'm tired of feeling lonely. So the resolution for really like, because I feel like I'm trying to sorry, I'm totally like thinking while we're here. You forgot that you're magical, right? You forgot that there's this like magical part of you, but in forgetting that you're magical, like you forgot that, like, you didn't forget. I think you didn't know that there's magic out there, right? That you're not like the last unicorn, that you're not the only magical person. Not saying that you felt like, oh, I'm so special. Like, that's not what I mean. With that loneliness card, like what it feels is like, oh, there's nobody else like me out here. Like, I'm always going to be the only one. And like, I'm never going to meet somebody else like me. And so it like, you forgot that the world was magic, right? Like you might have forgotten that you're magical, but you also forgot that the world around you is magic, that there is magic in the world, and that like you can find it because you know what to look for, because that's you, right? Like you just have to look for the people that are like you. You have to be open to seeing and receiving the people that are like you is really what it is, more than like looking for them, like manifesting them, and then being able to receive them. And so I feel like I'm saying that because of the resolution card. And this resolution card is the Five of Swords. And so the Five of Swords it's a card of like a little bit of a rapscallion card. It's a card of like drama. It's a card of drama, and like not full on, well, yeah, not full on chaos. I feel like Five of Wands is chaos. Like all these kids with their wands fighting. Like Five of Swords is like it's like scheming drama. Like we don't like that, you know. And so we've got this little angel with these three swords. There's two swords here, and they're reaching to take them. In the traditional tarot, it's someone that has stolen swords from a campsite, like a soldier's campsite. All the soldiers are sleeping, and they stole these swords, and they're like sneaking off, like very visibly sneaking. Whole lot of sneakery going on, you know, and sneaking away with these swords, kind of looking back like, they're not going to get me. And so the understanding around this is that like, sorry, I'm going to share the oracle card. So the oracle card that came up was fertility, which is what this looks like. It's a woman with, she's kind of got this orb around her belly, you know, to imply the fertility, except for it came up reversed. And so what I'm like getting from this is that like the little drama that's like around the people around you that create these little dramas are blocking like these new relationships from coming in. Like the longer you associate with like these people that are kind of about like a little bit of like, I feel like it's not, it's like this like really snarky energy, like just like not the worst people in the world. Like they wouldn't legitimately harm other people, but they're also like not nice people, right? Like, so this Five of Swords, like these are the people that like talk shit about everybody and like judge everybody, and like that's not you, you know. And like even like looking at this little Ace of Cups, like I feel like it's like each card that comes up, like things make more sense. Like you're always by yourself in this. Yeah, you're always by yourself in this reading. Like you're looking into this cup, and it's almost like this cup is like a little tiny wishing well. Like I really wish that like I had some people like me around me, you know. And like your little spirit guide's like, yeah. like yeah, bring him, send him. You know, and again, there's a bird here. So I've got two solitary figures, two birds. So maybe you really love birds, because who doesn't love birds? I mean, some people do or don't. You know, and then this reverse Six of Coins, you know, the apprehension, like being unsure. And I feel like a lot of that, like that kind of sadness, you know, sad, unsure, apprehension, is because you have these people around you that are like not like, they're a little, I think it's funny how this angel has little angel wings on its head, but they almost look like devil horns. Like there's this sadness because you have these people around you that like, in one way, like you can't connect with them the way that you want to, but in the other way, like you don't really want to connect with these people, right? Where it's like, I don't want to deeply share with you because you're not a safe person, but like you're my people because you've always been my people. And so understanding that the people that are around you, that have been around you, that you see the most, are not a reflection of everybody that's out there, right? That like you can create new relationships, like you can call in new relationships, you can manifest new relationships, that there's always the capacity for that, right? Like if the world of friendships is like soil, it's really fertile, you know. It's not, you're not running out of friends. Like there's people that you haven't met yet, you know, that like you're going to have these deep connections with. And so the understanding for all of this is another kind of forlorn card. It's the Knight of Coins. And so this is the only male looking figure in the reading. And so I feel like with this Ace of Cups, there might be somebody coming in, like a love relationship, right? This doesn't necessarily have to be a man, but it's a masculine energy, or it's the energy opposite of yours, right? Because this card is opposite of all the other gendered cards. So you might be a really masculine person as far as like your energy and the way you operate in the world. So this person would be someone that's kind of more gentle and feminine, or you might be a very feminine person. This person would be very like more assertive, taking initiative, action, masculine. And so with this card, Knight of Pentacles moves very, very slowly, very deliberately. I feel like Knight of Pentacles is like a farmer, where like he's planning what to grow for the next 2, 3, 4 growing cycles, because that determines like how he, like those decisions affect how he will plan, right? So it's like if he's gonna grow, I don't know anything about growing things, I'm not very good at it. Let's say he's gonna grow corn next year, and then the season after he needs to grow something else, right? Because you don't want to grow the same crops because it's going to deplete the soil, but you can't just pick anything because maybe another crop is going to deplete the soil of the same nutrients. So it's like, okay, how do we figure out like what's going to impart those nutrients back in the soil? What can we grow? And then after we can grow something else. And also like the planning of it, right? Like what kind of equipment do I need? Like how do I, like, can I sell all these crops when I harvest them? Do I want to sell them? Do I want to keep them? Like, how am I going to keep them? So it's like all is planning. So we have him like looking at this coin like very intently, because he is a planner, that he's got to be very intentional about what he's doing. And so that's why he moves very slowly. And so I feel like these people, like these Five of Swords people, as you remember your magic and as you begin to see how things are out of balance in your relationships, and as you really go inward and figure out what kind of loving relationships you want, these people will slowly fall away, and that gives space for these really deliberate, intentional, very grounded, like very, very safe people to come in, right? Where it's like you're used to these relationships with people that it's like, I knew I shouldn't have told you that because now you told everybody in my business is out there, and like it's kind of embarrassing, but it's nothing detrimental. But now I know not to tell you things. That's going to be replaced with people that like do what they say, that demonstrate that you can trust them, that like hold you, that hold you really carefully and tenderly. Like the way that he's holding this coin and looking at it is very much, it mirrors the way that you're holding this, right? So this is very, and I feel like in this scheme of tarot, like the major arcana is always more powerful than the court cards, but I feel like that kind of doesn't really matter. I'm not sure why I shared that, but I feel like there's this very much this mirroring, right? And it might be this person's like a little bit younger than you, maybe that's what it is, but like these people, their energy mirrors each other, very intentional, tender, like holding, right? Like very, it just feels like safety, security. Like I feel like I don't know how to explain it, and hopefully you're getting it, and like he's very focused on this. Like it's, he's got, like he could have held it in the palm of his hand and it could have fallen out, but he's very intentionally holding it. And so this, like, you're making space for these types of people to come in. And the oracle card that came up for this card is blame. I accept responsibility for my well-being. And I feel like that is very much kind of associated with this card. That, and I'm not crazy about the blame message, but like the word blame. I'm not crazy about the word blame, you know, because I feel like it's not a great energy, kind of a low vibe energy in my opinion. But the message of I accept responsibility for my well-being, and I feel like these two are matched, because like if these people are not in your, like, if these people are not the best people for you, and you accept responsibility that you've allowed them to be close to you when maybe they shouldn't, you allowed them to experience your magic when maybe like you shouldn't have shared it with them, you'll start to make better decisions for your well-being, right? That maybe you'll give them space, or you'll let them fall away or whatever, so that, you know, these really intentional, loving, caring people who match your energy can come in. Yes. Yeah. So, group 2, that has been your reading to remember who the fuck you are. So I hope that was helpful, and that it left you, you know, feeling a little bit more empowered about your situation, a little bit more positive, that like you're not the only unicorn out there, that like there's people that are, you know, loving and caring just like you, and as you clear out the people that aren't and make space for those new people to come in who are. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the reading and you would like to like and subscribe, I would be very happy if you did that. And so I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose the Black Kyanite card with the Set Strong Boundaries message, I feel like this looks like weed. Sorry. If you chose the Kyanite card, as well as the first house Aquarius Astrodice, and the little carnelian heart, this is your reading. So I have pulled a tarot card as kind of like a vibe check for each reading. So I'll kind of explain the card, and if it just doesn't resonate, doesn't feel like you, doesn't feel like your situation, doesn't make any sense, then you've got 2 other readings that you can check out. But the card that I pulled for you is the Knight of Pentacles. So we kind of have the same haircut. That's terrible. The Knight of Pentacles is a very slow-moving card, very slow-moving energy. He's a planner, very grounded, very intentional. Some people feel like he moves too slow. Like, to me, like, even though Knight of Pentacles is associated with earth energy, Knight of Pentacles is associated with earth energy, which is like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. This Knight of Pentacles to me feels like a Libra. And so I say that because that kind of slow moving energy, not to say that Libras are slow, but I feel like Libras are known to, I feel like this is a negative stereotype about Libras, that they have a hard time making a decision. And it's really that it's not that they have a hard time making the decision. They want to, like, whatever new information comes in, they're like weighing, balancing, like they're balancing this new information and like kind of like figuring out like, what does it mean, and how do I feel, and what do I think, and how does it affect this, and da da da. It's like there's all these different things. And so that energy, that very like conscientious, intentional, aware, receiving information, like incorporating information, like digesting it, analyzing it, processing it, like that's what this Knight of Coins feels like to me. Almost to the point that like a lot of people get frustrated with this person because it's like, just make a fucking decision. But I feel like the thing about this energy, and also the thing about Libras that the people take for granted or that they just don't see, is that like it's not just a decision, right? It's like these things that are really important decisions require like a lot of intention and a lot of focus, and a lot of energy, right? Because it's not like picking a place to eat. Like the decisions that are very important that have like long lasting effects or consequences, like those require due diligence. And I feel like that's the energy, right? It almost feels like, I feel like this guy is, this could be literally, or it just could be metaphorically. Like this is the guy that's been dating a woman for a long time and she just wants to get engaged. Like you just need to put a ring on it. And he's like, I don't know if I want to get married. Like, I don't know if I want to marry you. I don't know, like, okay, well, what if we get married? And then what if this? And what if that? And your mom? And then my parent? And then this? And then it's like there's so many things, you know, that like he's trying to consider all of them, right? And like, am I going to be happy? And like, are you going to be happy? I don't even know if you're happy with me. I think maybe you just want to get married because your best friend got married. And like, I don't... Like, I feel like that's this energy. This poor guy. So, almost 5 minutes in, that is the vibe check for your reading. So if this resonates, if you are this guy and you got a girlfriend that's hounding you to get married, I am so sorry, homie. I am so sorry. Girls are the worst. Or if you're someone that just kind of like takes a long time to make decisions and you have a lot of people around you that get frustrated, this could be your energy too. So for your reading of remembering who the fuck you are, I pulled a tarot and an oracle card for each kind of part of the reading. And so the first card that came up is it's the focus of the reading. Sometimes it's the issue, and I can't really tell if there's an issue. Or maybe like what it is. So I'm just going to read the card and we will see what comes out. So the card that came up is the Queen of Swords. And so this deck is the After Tarot. So if you're familiar with the regular tarot, like the After Tarot is like maybe a couple moments, couple minutes immediately after, like the traditional tarot. So in the traditional tarot, the Queen of Swords is just sitting very stoically with a sword in her hand. It's like straight up. And so in the After Tarot, she's got this little butterfly and she's like, hey buddy, what do? What's going on? I got this kid up here. And so swords are associated with air. And I just love that we've got the two creatures that we have in here. Yeah, the two creatures that we have in here are of the air, right? So we've got this like bird. I can't tell what it is. It's like a falcon or an eagle or like a crow or I don't know. Could be a vulture. I don't know. Not a bird expert, and especially not from this far away. And then she's got the butterfly up there, right? And so I feel like butterflies are the symbol of transformation, but it's the completed transformation, right? That, I mean, because really like a cocoon, like a chrysalis, like a worm in a chrysalis, could be, that's a symbol of transformation as well. But with the butterfly, it's like, this is completed. And so the fact that it's sitting on the tip of her sword and she's noticed it, I feel like you're remembering how far you've come. Like you're remembering how many big changes you've made, like the leaps and bounds. And maybe that's what this is, right? Like this far distance. Like I feel like when we talk about like leaps and bounds, like it's like big distances, right? Like to leap over something or to bound over something. Like if you've ever seen like video of like deer like leaping and bound, like they're traveling really far in their little hops, their big hops with all those legs. And so I feel like this is the focus of the reading. Like you're not necessarily remembering who the fuck you are. You're remembering how many really big significant changes you've made, and that helps you to see yourself in a different way, to see your own amazingness, right? That it's like, wow, I have been through some shit and I made it out on the other side, you know? And like, I'm a different person in lots of ways, and I'm still the same amazing person. And that, like, I deserve credit for that. And I feel like that's a big deal, to make like big changes, and to be able to see that, right? We don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we have to like push through, the things that we choose to do, the big changes that we choose to make. Because those are all, like, whether we're pressing through it, whether we're forcing through it, or we've chosen to make a change, like, that shit's hard. And like, you need to have a little party where a butterfly flies over and is like, you did so great. And you're like, hey, thank you for seeing me, friend, thank you. So the oracle card is nonsense, because nobody's watching me except for you. So the oracle card that came up is overcoming fear, and the message is, I will transcend every loss. Whew. Okay, this is heavy. And I say it's heavy because with Queen of Swords, like, she can be very stoic. And so I feel like there are probably things that you have been through that people have no idea. Like, there's probably things that you've been through that you haven't really shared the depth of them with people. And if you do, or if you did, they would be like, what the fuck? Like, how? Like, how did you, like, who, what, and so, understanding that, I feel like that, like, understanding, and maybe even sharing if you want to, you don't have to, but like, I feel like, right? I feel like that if you shared your stuff with people, that they would really be dumbfounded. Like, knowing that, I feel like knowing and understanding that is just another reason for you to give yourself credit and give yourself like extra love around all the big changes that you've experienced. Because I think when we're on the inside of things, right? Like, we're always on the inside of our own situation. Like, it's happening to us. It's hard when we're on the inside. It's hard for us to see what it looks like from the outside, right? So we can go through things that are really significantly difficult. Then it's like, well, this is just, what the fuck's going on? This is just how it is. This is what I do. This is, it's like another round of hard things. Like, when we're inside of it, like, it's so easy for us to lose sight of the magnitude of it, or that, like, it's a big deal that we've done it, or that we've made it through that thing. So that's the focus of this reading, is giving yourself some congratulations and big old pat on the back, and just kind of, taking stock of the things that you have completed, accomplished, made it through, because they're really big and it's a lot. And Ben agrees. I don't know if you heard that. Because at the end of the day, Queen of Swords is a badass. Like, this is the badass card. Queen of Swords is a badass. Okay, so the kind of internal thing that's going on, and it's actually not going on. Like, this is an internal reflection. It kind of has to do with what I said about the overcoming fear card. It's the Knight of Swords. And so he's fighting this person, right? Like, he has, like, legit, he's like laying this dude out, right? Even like his little horse is like, whoa, shit. This little side eye. He's like, oh shit, what is happening? I don't know why that's so funny to me. I feel like when I first looked at this deck, like, and I looked at this card, that is like the first thing I noticed is this horse eyeball. Because I am a weirdo. But so this is the stuff that, like, you haven't shared with other people, right? That, like, you've been through, like, really significant battles, and like, people that don't know you very well, like, they see that, like they get it, like, you, like, your vibe, you very much have a vibe of, like, don't fuck with me, but they don't know the things that you went through to become that way, right? Because I feel like we get tested and challenged a lot, right, in our everyday life, in interacting with people, in existing in this world. Like, if you are a part of any kind of minority group, then like you get tested all the time, which I feel like is like the majority of people are in some kind of minority group at this point. If you're an everyday person, right, that's like everybody has like this struggle that they're dealing with. But not everybody handles it the same way, right? We have people, there are people that will get tested and they'll fold because it's not safe to fight the system. It's not safe to stand out. Like and I'm not judging people that fold when they're confronted, right? Because we live with a lot of fucked up systems, and like for a lot of people in minority groups, like folding is how you stay alive. Right? And like at the end of the day, like everything is about survival. And so for you, you are not a folder. Because, because I feel like Queen of Swords she's a warrior in her own right. Like I think in a lot of kind of mythology of like, kings and queens and like TV shows, like the queen is never like, she doesn't go out and like fight. She doesn't go out and do things. There's a show on Netflix. It's like a parody of like the kind of Viking shows. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say Norseman, but that might be wrong. But there's a Viking king and he goes out to plunder with all his people, and then there's a queen and she stays behind, but like she's in charge of like executing the slaves that like misbehave, and so she's like literally chopping people's heads off. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's just the show's it's lovely. This cracks me up, and I think I'm gonna go watch it again. But I feel like that queen, like she's doing this dirty work, right? Like she's like using weapons and things like that, and like that's the kind of queen that you are. And so this internal knowledge that you have, like all the battles that you've been through, and like you have been through some shit, right? Like because I feel like there are people that like there are people that are like, don't test me, and you're just like, okay. And then there are people that like they don't have to say anything, they just kind of are like, like, and you're like, oh shit. like don't fuck with her. I feel like you are the latter, right? That you have been through some really intense shit. And that's like, people don't know. People don't know. And and so I'm just telling you things you already know. But yeah, Ben agrees. But the but the interesting thing is that, like a lot of people can go through these battles and it makes them harder. For you, like you fought to be able to stand up for and protect yourself, but you don't fight like this anymore, right? Like there's no more of the crazy, like, oh shit. There's no more of like these crazy battles, because like your focus is on love, and that and operating out of love doesn't mean that you let people walk all over you. Like you're still very strong, very boundaried. But operating out of love means that, you'll stop people with your words instead of stab them with your sword upon like that first altercation. And I feel like also, because, sorry, I can't get this card. Because we're talking about all the things that you have been through, like the really, really hard stuff, you recognize that, and you like offer yourself, or if you haven't yet, like this is definitely an encouragement to offer yourself lots and lots of love in response to all the things that you've been through, right? Like damn, I've been through like some really fucked up hard shit, and like I deserve like more tenderness, and I deserve more ease and I don't really want to fight with people anymore, and I don't want to have to battle for things, and maybe you decide that like in operating out of love, when those interactions with people feel like a battle, it's like, I'm good, I'm going to walk away. Like those are not my people. That is not where I'm supposed to be. That's not how I want to invest my energy, because I don't need to prove that I can fight. I want the people that have finished their fighting, that are ready to love. Like that's what I'm ready for. So that's the internal thing that that you're aware of within you. Or it could be like, I feel like this is the internal thing, like the years of battling that you did. That's the internal thing you're aware of. Like the thing you're not aware of is this level of love that's coming in, that like in taking stock of like all the changes you've been through, and also like how you've transcended every loss, that like you're able to create more space or grow more love for yourself as well as others. I feel like the love that you have for other people, like that is going to expand and grow later. Like I feel like as you kind of focus on like loving yourself more and like just giving yourself credit for stuff, like I have been through a lot and I made it through a lot and I'm really strong, and this could have made me a hard, shitty person, but it didn't, just kind of giving yourself like those, like talking to yourself like about those things, like acknowledging those things like for yourself. That's going to grow the love that you have for yourself, which is beautiful. So the external thing that I feel like you're not aware of it. Usually the external thing, people are aware of it. I feel like this is what's coming for you. And it is the 10 of Cups. And so it's just like this really beautiful like community, like a family, right? Where it's like the 10 of Cups is like happily ever after. And everybody's happily ever after looks different, but this is very specific to love. And so you've got this little family around a campfire and like this little kidder. And like it's all these generations of people, right? And they've got their little house back here, but they're all like hanging out around the fire. Maybe they're making s'mores. Maybe this is before marshmallow and graham crackers were invented. I'm not sure, but it's like it's like a heartful, like a full heart feeling. Like being with these people, being with this community, like really, really fills your heart up. And like, I feel like that's so good. So like if you already have these people in your life, then this will make sense. And if you don't have these people in your life yet, if you don't have these connections yet, like they're coming in. The Oracle card that came up for this 10 of Cups is the Talent card, which I feel like is very interesting. And so I feel like if this 10 of Cups hasn't come up for you, if you don't have these relationships or this doesn't make sense to you, then I feel like this Talent card has something to do with it. So you might have a talent that like you use at work, and that talent leads you to like meeting people that like you develop these relationships with. Like you might be like an artist, or like someone that's like an artisan that makes things. You might meet these people through community at like some kind of art event or like a convention or like an arts and crafts fair. But these two came up together. And I feel like loving people isn't it isn't a talent. Like anybody can do it. You don't have to have like the love other people talent. You just have to, like be open to loving people. It's like a choice. But this Talent card, like I feel like it's like there's some kind of event, like something that's going to happen that's connected to one of your talents, and it's going to be whatever like you feel like your most significant talent is, right? So like maybe if you I don't know, like to juggle in your spare time and you don't share that with anybody because you don't want them to make fun of you or think you're weird, it's probably not that talent. It's probably not that. But it could be. I don't know. Maybe there's like a jugglers convention and like you meet your chosen family. Whatever it is, you've got a talent, and that talent is going to bring you to this community, these people, this chosen family, and quite possibly a little cat. So the resolution for, it's really not a resolution because there's no issue. I feel like it's an elevation is really what it is. It's not a resolution. Yeah, the elevation, and I say it's an elevation because the card that came up is the King of Swords, right? And so Queen of Swords is right before King of Swords. But like when we look at this card, like she's literally looking up, and like up as in like elevating. We had that bird up here. He's got this bird right here with him. And like it's I want to say it's a falcon. I think the falcon is what's associated with the swords cards. But also he's got his sword in the ground, like in a crown. I'm trying to see if it's, yeah, I don't know whose crown that is. But with the sword in the ground, I feel like it's like you're elevating, like you're coming up to another level, and like it's almost like you're parking yourself, right? Which like it kind of sounds weird, but maybe it's like you're getting to this place that you've been wanting to be at, right? So this could be like you're becoming the person that you've wanted to be for a long time. You're becoming the person that you've been like working towards being, right? So, you know, like maybe you have a goal that like you want to be a director at the company that you work at, or you want to be a VP of something, or like you have this goal, and it's like, you know, you like are coming into that goal, and it's like, okay, I'm here and I'm gonna be here for a little while. Like I'm parking myself here. And I feel like there's apprehension around saying that because like so much of our culture is like, you know, you have to do more, you have to do the best, you have to do this, you have to keep going, and all the things. And it's like, no, like we don't always have to like keep, like you don't have to like accelerate from being like an employee to a manager to a regional manager to whatever, to a franchise owner or whatever. Like you don't have to do all those things in 10 minutes, right? Like there is nothing wrong with setting a goal, getting to your goal, and then maintaining that goal, right? Because like if you look at like diet and fitness, right? Like people set a goal weight, but nobody's like, when I get to my goal weight, can't wait to gain it all back. So actually what I want to do is I want to get down to this so that I can get right back up to where I was before, so I can keep going back and forth, because that's fun. Nobody wants that, right? But we don't ever talk about like, I want to get to my goal and I want to maintain that, right? Which is so weird to me, because like so many of our goals, like money goals, like, you know, like I set a goal, like I want to say in 2018 to like save up $10,000. And so, I mean, obviously it took me a while because it's 2023, but like I did it, and like, I don't have any intention of spending it. Like I wanted to have that in case I'm a little paranoid and worried, like in case shit went to shit and I needed to pull out a bunch of cash to have cash for I don't know what, then it's like I have it. Or that's kind of a like, cuckoo reason. But really, you know, it's like, okay, what if something like really significant happens, right? Where it's like, I don't know, like what if a meteor hits my roof and then my home warranty company is like, that's not wear and tear, we're not going to cover that. And it's like, fuck, how much is a roof? $10,000. Like, great. like I met my goal and it was there in case I needed it. Like that's what I saved it for. But it's like, I want it to stay there and grow, but mainly like I want it to stay there. Like I want to save it and like keep it in case something happens. And if nothing ever happens, then great, I have extra money that I could spend on a vacation, or I don't know. But say all that to say that this feels like, that feels like where you're going, right? That you're coming into meeting this goal that you've set for yourself and that you're going to maintain it, which I feel like is really, it's like really amazing, right? Just like, okay, I'm here and I'm grounded and I'm just going to allow myself to be. And like, we don't talk about being. We always talk about doing. Do the things, do more, do all the things, do the new thing, do the old thing, do this, do that. But we don't ever talk about just being, like just sitting the fuck down and being in the present moment and enjoying the thing that we've worked really hard for. If, like, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, but there's like, it was, I don't remember when it was, a couple months ago. What is time? There was like posts about, and they still come up now, like posts about like, eat the cake, like wear the nice dress, like wear the jewelry, you know, don't wait for a special occasion to enjoy something. That's what this energy is. Like, be in that present moment and enjoy that thing, right? Like, I work from home and like, I still get dressed every day like I'm going somewhere because I really enjoy being able to pick out my clothes, right? Like, I enjoy like being able to put on little jewelry and like doing my makeup. Like, that's my little thing that I do. Even though half the time nobody sees me, like that's for me. And so I feel like that's what this energy is like enjoying the things that you've worked for, right? Enjoying the things that you've worked so hard for because, you know, like you went through this. Like you went through this for a long time, you know, and like Knight of Swords is like, he is the fastest moving card in the tarot. Like Knight of Swords, well, no, Knight of Wands is the fastest. He's the second fastest. So this is like hyper reactive, like always ready to battle, like winning the battles, like fighting when you haven't slept and haven't eaten and like, how are you still fighting? I don't have a choice. Like this is what this energy is. Like this is what you have been through. And so for you to come into this of like, oh, like now I have the time and space to like allow my nervous system to re-regulate itself. I have the time and space and safety to not do anything on a Sunday. Because I need to rest or because I want to rest. Maybe I don't even need to rest. I just want to rest because rest is nice. And watching TV shows for like no purpose except for to like randomly watch stuff is lovely. The other, like the Oracle card that came up with this, which is like, I love it. It's beautiful, is the Home card. And so this sword through the crown in the ground, like I feel like that's the feeling of home. Like, yep, planting roots here. Might be the forever home, might not be, but I'm planting roots. I'm securing myself. I'm gonna give space. I'm gonna root myself so this can find me. Because we've got this house in the background, right? This isn't a mobile home. Like this is, you know, like this is planted in the woods, right? And you're gonna settle down somewhere. You're gonna plant some roots. You're gonna find some community. You're gonna make some friends. This is lovely to go from being a knight that like there's no, this is in the desert, right? Like he doesn't have a camp. He doesn't have a house. This dude's traveling and fighting, you know, and you made it out of that, evolved into a different person, kept doing the work, loving yourself, you know, and now you've elevated to become like this king. You've gotten to this goal, like you've become this person that you've been working so hard to be, and now you get to enjoy it. Like you just get to enjoy being in this place, in this space, which is lovely. And the last card is the understanding around the understanding around all of it. And so like, and that, I don't know if that's going to make sense, but the card that came up is this 8 of Coins. And so in the traditional, no, yeah, 8. Sorry, Roman numerals are hard. In the traditional 8 of coins, the 8 of coins before this, since this is the after tarot, he's still building out these coins, right? In the traditional 8 of coins, he's hammering a coin like on a workbench. And so with this after tarot, it's complete. And that's why I say like this card is the resolution for all of it. Like all the hard times, like all the growth, all the fighting, all like the realizing, like you're closing out a cycle. Like you've completed this chapter of your life, right? So you being able to reflect on all the things that you've done, it's not necessarily helping you remember who you are. It's helping you to see who you've become, right? Reflecting back on like all the things that you've been through, like, and closing out that chapter, and understanding like, okay, this is all the shit that I went through that I don't have to go through that anymore. Like that is done. That is complete. Like we've completed that project. And then what that's brought in is healing around a heartbreak. And so the message is my heart will love again, which is this. I will not sing the Celine Dion My Heart Will Go On song for you because 1, I can't sing, and 2, I don't want to hurt anybody's ears. Yeah. My heart will love again. So, group number 3, that's been your reading. That you're a badass that went through a lot of shit and became more of a badass, healed, like learn to love yourself, or you are learning to love yourself. I mean, really, we're all learning to love ourselves. And that you're gonna draw in like this really beautiful community of people for your heart to love. What more is there? What more is there to life than, being able to have a community of people that we love? So I hope that reading was helpful for you. And in case you forgot that you're a badass, now you remember that you're super badass. And I just want to say thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed the reading and you would like to like and subscribe, I would love that. So I will see you next time. Bye.